Mr. Pittman. I'm good. Just fixed a little din.
Oh, okay.
And
Listen, I'm quite sure you have ran across what I'm going to ask you, or what I'm going to talk to you about, and it's about Errol Spence, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a neurologist that saying that he thinks Earl should retire from boxing. He shouldn't box anymore, because he was saying that once Earl had that car accident, if you look at Earl and listen to the way his speech was prior to the accident, you can hear now that his words are being slurred a little more. And he believes that he suffered some neurological issues after the car accident. And he said even to right now you can see and hear when Earl speaks that he's suffering from neurological problems, and he thinks that he should end his boxing career right now and shouldn't fight anymore.
Yeah, I heard about that. To me, I was a knee-jerk reactionist in my mind. Man, it took me. I haven't even watched that fight again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for me, that's why I be trying to say, like, I'm a real fan, and I'm actually a fan of a lot of these guys, because over the years I go inside out. So what drew me to them was inside the ring, but as I got to watch them over that time, I've been watching them as people, you know what I'm saying? So I was more concerned with Earl initially as a person, and so I was thinking, man, well, yeah, if this the end of the road, okay, cool, then you know what I'm saying, you got out your way or whatever. But I have a whole new, just like that Tank and Ryan made a paradigm shift. This fight actually made a paradigm shift for me, and I'm gonna tell you what I deduct. I'm gonna use Bud as the example, because I had did a piece this morning and I was like, I'm not gonna release that. It's like, yeah, I can still release it, because Bud came out and said, I said back in the day I didn't want to fight him after the car wreck because they're gonna say, oh man, the car wreck. He was like, he came back and he fought Danny Garcia. He said, and I was live for that fight. I saw that fight. He said, and they was actually asking me, me and his people were going back and forth, and I basically said, yeah, you know what I'm saying, he looked good. He ain't 100%, but you know what I'm saying, he look good, and so he said after that, he was like, he went back and he fought Ugas. And he said, man, he looked great. He said it still didn't look, he said he didn't look like, he basically was saying he looked big, he looked strong, he looked like, okay, cool. He was like, so you got to look at the body of work in which Earl was able to do after the accident. And so because of that body of work, you can't take away from what Bud was able to do to him. So on the receiving end of Spence, me personally, I don't think it really, like, yes, it might be some lingering somethings or whatever. Like, a professional probably don't need to tell you that. Like, anybody that been through anything in life probably know, there's certain people that been through certain things and they in certain situations that bother them, but that's more like situational. He like a fish in water. Like, when it come to fighting, it's like he take the water. I mean, like a fish take the water. So that boxing, getting hit, dealing with injuries, all the fighters deal with it. I don't think that, knowing what I know now, I don't think Earl should retire. And I'm one of the ones that say it was a daggone shame how Muhammad Ali went out and how people shouldn't even let him get in the ring. So I'm one of the people that say that. I don't think he should retire. Like, given what I've learned here, and like what's going on right now, like the answers as to what was going on with Earl and the lead up and how Bud really feel, and a lot of the fans are like fanning up flames of some other things, but Earl reenacted his rematch. Bud said he comfortable at 54. Whether it was something about the car accident or not, Earl is the type that, if you recall, when it came down to him and Manny Pacquiao, he was still going to go out there and fight with a torn retina. That's just how he is. And if he wasn't going to be the type to let you know after the fact, but the doctors wouldn't let him do it. That's just how he is. It's just like the perspective of the two biggest fights. When you look at these two biggest fights, Ryan Garcia was the loser, Errol Spence was the loser. You would never imagine that Ryan Garcia was the one that quit. Earl's a dog, and if he enacted that rematch and he said he gonna go back forward with, you know, all that other stuff that they said was surrounding all that, hey, I don't think he's at that point. I mean, you would have, because it's going to be plenty of time to the build-up. He's going to have to be in front of the cameras. There's going to be plenty of time for people to say, oh, no, man, I don't want to see this Earl, man. Like, look at him, man. He can't even hold his head up straight. Like, look, like, you're going to have plenty of time to be like, nah. And he's going to have to still clear medical this time around. So, I don't think he should retire. I know he still want to get a bag. I know that's why, regardless of whatever, he was going to get in that ring and get that bag. That's what that came down to. He was going to tooth and nail, as long as he was going to be able to walk out and they was going to be able to open up them ropes, and the referee was going to be in the middle of that ring. He was going to go into that fight regardless of what was going on with him. And he the type to where if he enacted that rematch, he gonna be the same way. He a diehard. So I think, you know, it's plenty enough time. People are gonna be able to come out and object to him getting back in the ring and all that. I'm not gonna be one of them ones, you know, to do it. In this situation, I'm not.
What I think should happen is, I think he should undergo some neurological tests and have some doctors look at him, listening to him talk before, and listen to him talk now, and make a determination whether or not they feel that he is a little different now than he was before. And I would think that if they conclude that there is a difference in him, that he should really consider whether he wanted to continue to fight, because Muhammad Ali fought fights when they knew that his speech was being slurred, that he wasn't the same, that he had some neurological problems, and he kept on fighting. Same thing. One of the fighters who's my favorite, Wilfred Benitez, okay? He is in the same state right now, where he can't walk. His mother got to take care of him because he suffered neurological problems that came up later in life. And I think now, because Earl has an opportunity just to be checked out, okay? Let the doctors make a determination that is he a little different now than prior to the accident. Now, I'm not talking about the fight, okay? He lost the fight. But this right here is a little bigger than the fight. Does it seem that he does have some neurological issues that he didn't have prior? And if they can conclude that he does, he has to make a decision whether he want to continue to fight, because you're looking at your future, and the safety of the fighter comes first.
Yeah, but I'm thinking, man, like those things, to a certain extent, I mean, those things have been, they have to, you got to get medically cleared. Like, remember when he was trying to go do it, there was a doctor that said no. So, of course, if they see something, well, like if they see something or saw something to say, oh, you know, you're not right, they wouldn't have let it go on. They could make a big fight, but a doctor they could stop it. They could say, hey, no. You know what I'm saying? So that stuff been going on. So if it's not about this fight, then like Bud said, you can't, because you gotta look at his body at work. Look at what he did to Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia still boxing. Uga's still boxing. Like he tore him out the frame. So if it was the accident, like if now we gonna bring up the accident, that's gonna hamstring this fight. He was able to do that.
I'm not saying that the accident prevented him from performing at the level that we normally see him doing. Okay, no. Bud won. Fair and square. I don't put it on the accident. What I'm saying is this. I think he should be medically evaluated by the neurosurgical team to find out if there is any difference in him now than prior to the accident. And if they conclude that, yeah, he lost a step, his speech isn't as clear, some of his words are slurred, if they can conclude that, I think he needs to make a real decision as to, do I continue fighting in the ring? Right. Because all you do, if in fact you do have some signs, you risk the chance of the situation getting even worse.
And I get that. I understand. I'm with you 100%. My question is, you don't think that they've done that? You don't think that he sat down and you don't think that they medically screened him? That would be gross negligence. You don't believe that they sat down and tested him?
A fight doctor who screens you for a fight don't do a neurological evaluation on you. They test you for your blood pressure, listen to your heart, listen to your lungs, and if you meet that criteria, then you're ready to fight. But they don't test you neurologically to see if there's any difference between the way you were and the way you are. The physical for a fight is totally different than a neurosurgical team evaluating you mentally to see if there's any difference between you now and maybe 2 years ago. It's a different type of physical exam.
Yeah, okay, so we got the ones that go before. So I'm asking you this. With Earl having as much money as he has, would it, before he even got to the point to where he getting ready to go up into a fight, you don't believe he spent some of his, now he spent all his money on nutritionists, he spent all his money on his training and all his massages and cryotherapy. You don't think that he spent any of his money to sit down with somebody that knows about the brain to actually say, all right, is it cool for me to do this? You don't believe he did that?
I don't know what he did, but what I'm saying is this. This neurological individual, he made some comparisons with Earl. The way Earl spoke and the way he speaks now, the way he slurs some words, and just looking at him, he thinks that Earl should be truly evaluated in that area just to ensure the fact that he is capable of continuing his career. And based on that guy's profession, I think that maybe he should be evaluated, because this man got a family, he got children, and if he's suffering from anything that maybe that you and I can't see, but the medical professionals can say, yeah, you done slowed down a little bit, and it's probably because of that accident. I think that should be a determining factor that he evaluates whether he wants to continue fighting. But if he goes through it and he want to continue fighting, more power to him. But I think it's worth at least getting checked out, because there are fighters that right now can hardly talk. I'm gonna tell you somebody else who's suffering from neurological problems. Floyd Mayweather Sr. He can hardly talk. You ever listen to him talk?
Yeah, I heard him. I've seen him.
And he wasn't like that when he was younger. He's suffering too. And see, that's what I'm saying. These fighters, you know, because of the constant blows over the head and all, you see certain things that happen to them later in life. And if Earl is starting to show some signs of that, he wants to know professionally, do the medical professionals think that it was a tribute to that car accident that caused the change? Because he needs to make a real decision. Because if in fact he is showing some neurological issues, going in the ring and constantly being hit upside the head ain't the answer.
That's true. That's true. Nobody can argue with that. That's a fact. You know, that's a fact. I mean, maybe he should. Like, I mean, if ain't nothing wrong, and you know, I mean, if it ain't nothing to hide or anything, maybe he should. Maybe he should just as an added precaution, just to say, hey, look, go back and look at this. Like, do you think? I mean, you know, I mean, it can't hurt. You know, and if they can catch something, if it is something, then it can't hurt. Like, he got the bread for it. I mean, so I mean, that's a valid point. You know, if you look at the long haul, you know, caring about Earl as the man, yeah. As the father, yeah.
I'm gonna tell you the honest truth, though, man. If in fact the doctor does conclude that during the accident he did suffer some head injury and he's not 100%, I wouldn't be surprised, because when you look at that accident, it is shocking that he is still alive. That accident was terrible. And not only was it terrible, but he wasn't even strapped inside the vehicle, where maybe he got thrown from the vehicle as it flipped. They found him outside the vehicle. So that was a terrible look. He's lucky to be alive.
Yeah, my whole thing is like, why this dude coming out now? The dude had, like, it's been what 3 years? That happened in what, 2020? That happened in 2019. That happened in right after the shampoo. 2019. It's 2023. Where was this doctor? I don't like that this is surfacing now. Like, I mean, it's just, if it was something, this doctor, you know what I'm saying, like, popping out of nowhere, like, yes, Earl need to go get that done for Earl is the man, as another added precaution. I just think that all of this is like, ain't it kind of too late for all of that? Like, why we ain't pop out like this before he came back and forth? Danny Garcia, like, if he catch you right, a devastating puncher, if he catch you right, like he caught Matisse and knocked him out. You know, why Ugas? I mean, the way them thudding blows, he's still a grown man, you know, a big man, and if you don't deserve to be in there, you know, why wasn't this done earlier, is what I'm saying. It's kind of messy to me, and if that's not it, which
sometimes individuals may not have your best interest in mind. You know what I'm saying? For example, Muhammad Ali. He wasn't supposed to keep fighting, but those around him didn't have his best interest in mind. They were looking for a payday. Now, I'm not saying that that's the case with Earl, but sometimes a paycheck, you'll send a man in there and you know he ain't, you know, he might have some neurological issues. So I think it's up to him to get himself evaluated and find out if in fact the medical professionals think that maybe you did suffer something and that it's affecting your speech a little bit, your balance a little bit, find out, and then you make the decision if you want to continue to fight. You continuing to fight is not a decision that your stable is going to make, that your coach is going to make. This is something that you need to sit down, find out, talk to your family, and find out if it's feasible for you to continue in this type of sport. Because he can still be a part of boxing, like promoting things like he's doing with Martin. He can still be a part of the game. But is it feasible if the doctors is telling you, yeah, you got a little issues? It's not that devastating right now, but you got some issues. I think he should find out what they have to say and then make a determination as to what he want to do with the rest of his life.
Yeah. I feel your perspective.
And I'm not saying he lost a fight because he had issues. What I'm trying to say is it might be time to get that evaluation so that you will have a legacy on your future. Forget about boxing. This is your future, your family. And if you do have some issues, fighting in the ring is not the place to be.
I mean, that's a good message. It's you know, it's something he need to do, but also with that state of mind, those are some strong implications. Me personally, because of the stable that Derrick James have, if Derrick James was working with that dude, and if it wasn't something else, because there are some things floating around about what was happening with him going into this fight. That's different than the car accident. And I don't believe that Derrick James and his character and the kind of person he is, being, you know, from Oak Cliff down there in Dallas, working with the youth. All he want to do is finish out Ryan Garcia's career and finish out Frank the Ghost. I only mention them because those are the two younger fighters aside from AJ and Jamel, and of course Errol. He want to finish them out and then go back to the youth. Me just, you know, following along Errol's career and looking at Derrick James, I don't believe Derrick James is one of them guys that would say no. I think he would say no, because he don't have all those other hats. And then he's have these marquee guys, because we don't know how much money he would make with if Frank going to be what he's going to be, and Ryan is, you know, Ryan just made 30. He just made 30. So AJ, ain't no telling, man, he messed around and fight Wilder. It's not a money thing, and I think that's the closest one. That's your co-pilot. I believe if it was something as far as that accident in good faith, I don't believe Derrick James would let him in there. I think this came up because of how that fight looked, and this was an opportunity for that doctor to put out something that's not rocket science, man. I think he knows. Errol's a historian of boxing. One of the things he talk about is like, man, I want to get out with this and that. That's what the whole emphasis with getting the money or whatever. Like he had been saying that. So I can't put it. I won't say that he hasn't gotten it done, but he should go back and get it done. And maybe a second opinion or a third opinion or a fourth opinion might be like, all right, well look, I ain't gonna box no more. Since you said it like that, that might happen. I just don't. That coming up now at this point in time kind of rough. It's different. Well, we care about the fighter, so yeah, like add the test on, you know, go get your brain tested. Cause I don't want to see a shell of Earl in there. Me personally, I'm not money hungry. I care about. I've been sitting up here deciding whether or not I want to chime in on certain comments or even entertain what's going on the internet, because it's one thing about Bud being, you know, the best right now. He the top dog, the apex predator. That's what he is. It's a whole other thing to be a fan of a fighter and see them go through that and not wonder, okay, what's going on with my fighter? This ain't like, if we seen anyway, we'd be like, man, what's up with him? Like, why would we would be concerned because of the performances and all that through the ring? But if you watch him long enough, you care about the person just as much as your entertainment. I'm not the type of fan that would want to see him in there if there's something wrong with his brain. Because I'm the one, I don't even like watching that last Muhammad Ali thing. And if it is something resulting from that accident, that's gross negligence on all the people around him to let him do that. So I think that it was just weird timing to bring that up now. But, you know, just like Stephen A., that was his main impact before. It's like he kept saying that. I'm like, why you ain't say nothing before the Ugas fight? Why y'all didn't say that? Like, so y'all knew that, but y'all was encouraging Bud to do that. And then if you do say that, how much credit are you giving to Bud? I don't know. It's just weird, man. It's just weird. But yeah, you're right. He need to get the test as an added precaution. It can't hurt. And you know, we want Earl to be around to be able to commentate and tell us what was going on during this time and what was going on during that time, and speak with all his faculties. That's
yeah, because I'm not making an excuse for the fight. Forget the fight. He lost the fight, you know. But I don't want to see him, if in fact there's something that's preventable and that can give him a little more longevity with his faculties, than to have an issue and fight, and then in a couple years from now, he can hardly speak.
Yeah.
I would hate to see that.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is this is just a precautionary, and I wouldn't have never brought it up if this neuro specialist who observed him and watched him and made some, analysis on the way he spoke and what he see now. If he didn't never said that, it wouldn't even be on my mind. But since he brought it up, as a professional, I think that maybe just getting some neurological tests done just to see if there's any difference in you now than the way you were 2 years ago with speech and everything, I think it's worth taking a look at. At least for his, if you don't do it for yourself, do it for your family.
Yeah, I respect that though. I mean, that's why, your opinion is valid. This is your platform. This is your segment. So I mean, yeah, that's coming from you. You got every right. You know what I'm saying? It's not a bad idea, and it is something. I don't want our fans to get it twisted. We care about Earl as the fighter, so don't get it twisted like everybody else. Don't be childish and run with it into making it something else. We care about Earl as the fighter, and he's basically saying that as an added precaution, just get a test and make sure, you know what I'm saying, to, preserve yourself if need be. Because you're going to have fans, like, that's why I put out a couple messages saying, look, I'm always going to be an Errol Spence fan. It was never about the loss. It was never about that. Even after seeing the accident, I'm like, man, he going to come out back with no tune-up against Danny Garcia. And then seeing that, and then he going to come back and, like, fight Ugas. And, like, after the rest, it's like, that's Earl. You know what I'm saying? Just as a fan, you get into mode of just wanting to see Earl. But we do ultimately care about Earl as the man, the father. You know what I'm saying? The guy that's, 99.9% of the time not in the ring on a pay-per-view. You know what I'm saying? The everyday person. So we do, and that's a valid point. That's why, you got every right, man. I open that. That's what the channel for, man. You got a pulse on everything. That was one of the pulses that was an uptick. I just want to try to be thorough because I've seen a lot of channels getting infested like roaches because everybody pretty much they take something like what you said and they automatically say, oh man, because you ain't pulling Bud meat out that you trying to take credit away. That's not what we're doing. We're saying we care about Earl as the fighter, and we want to make sure he preserves his faculties, and that's the thing that's keeps being driven home here. So That's a good
Hey,
one,
I'm
man.
gonna tell you something. The last couple times we talked, we weren't doing any segments, and I'm gonna tell you the truth. I didn't realize that we were doing a segment. I'm gonna tell you the truth. And what you just heard from me was just my honest opinion, basically on how I really felt. And I think he should, for his family, for himself, get the evaluation and then make conclusions of what he want to do afterward. But actually, I didn't realize that we were doing a segment right now. I was just speaking freely based on some information that I saw. And I think that it would be feasible for Earl to at least go through those motions. Because if he can prevent something from happening, in the future, time is of the essence. It's important to start on it now.
Yeah.
Because boxing isn't everything. You got a life after boxing, and you want to be able to manifest that life with your family in the best possible means you can.
Yeah. Definitely as a working man, up on roofs and dealing with 480 volts and 18 amps and with electricity and refrigerant. Trust me, I know. you want to be good as a person. So I mean, that's good. That's good, man. That's a good message. Good, a good piece of advice as a hardcore boxing guy who done lived, and that's that wisdom. So
I'm gonna tell you another thing too. Listen to Tommy Hearns talk. He seems to have some of the same similarities.
Yep. He came to mind when we were talking, which
it's real. That neurological with fighters, that's a real thing. It's real.
Yeah. It is. It is. It's a dangerous sport, man. That's why you don't play boxing. So
you don't.
You don't play boxing, and as much as we try, we want fighters to be 100% when they get in there, and we want them to have long careers, but between life and then the opponents that they face and when they face them and how it go down, and it's just a whole lot of factors, man. But that's what make boxing so interesting, man. It's just a tricky sport, man, and we still got to witness greatness. We got some questions that need to be answered, and we got some more things coming up. I got some other things on the up and up, on the uptick. We're gonna leave on a good uptick as far as what's going on. I seen an interview with Montes Stanyanis, and he actually want to fight Boots.
Hey, you know what? That might be a good match, because that's a match that can be made. Okay? That is a match that if both participants want to take part on, that's a match that can be made.
Yeah, he said that they had asked if he wanted to fight him, and he said yes, and then after he said yes and submitted everything, he said ain't nothing happened. Like, he ain't get no call. And that's not the first time I heard that. That's why, man, it's so much talent out there that I used to do a lot of videos about a lot of different boxers, man. But I'm one of them ones, once I start hearing certain facts and with the real behind the scoop and not what's being broadcasted out in public, I lose motivation, because it's like, man, I know, like, a lot of these times I know what's going on. But he's saying, look, he said, I challenged myself. He said in a quick snapshot, he thought about retiring because he was so fed up. You got to think, he took step aside like 3 times, and he got stood up by Virgil 3 times. He took step aside Yeah, like 3 times for the WBA. And he got stood up by Virgil, 3 times. So he like, look, man, I want to fight the best. He's like, man, I'm not, I seen some things differently. I seen what he do good, but I saw some things that his opponent could have capitalized. I was picturing myself in there with him, and the dude is, the more interviews I hear from him, he's actually like very smart. He's funny, he's witty, he's real. Even with the pick, he said, man, I suck at making picks, but I just like to fight, you know what I'm saying? But he wants some boot smoke, man. And I'm like, when we gonna get behind that and start saying, yeah, because the implications that fight that just happened is the next one gonna be at 54. If, everything goes forward for that, we got a while before anything's snapped, and that took a lot of the boxing attention because it was the biggest fight in boxing. But now when we start looking at those pieces at 47, those are 2 key pieces, especially since Stanionis actually has the WBA regular, which is the same thing Ugas had when him and Pacquiao fought, and when Pacquiao and Keith Thurman fought. So he has the WBA regular. So he actually has that regular championship, the same kind of belt that Tank got as a regular. We know Devin got the other belts. Only other thing I heard really is Devin is going to fight Regis Prograis at 140.
You indicated that to me. So,
yeah.
We were wondering what Devin was going to do. Is he actually going to move up? So it seemed like he done solidified this challenge, and he is going to move up. So, we just got to wait and see what happens at 35.
Yeah, 35. I think they're going to make him the champion recess or something like that. We might get... I don't know if Devin going to fight. I don't know if Shakur going to fight Loma. But that might be it. So we'll see. It's a lot of other decisions, but I do know that I actually said, man, for me, for Devin, I would say all sins are forgiven for me and Devin, with him going to go see Regis, because Regis was a tough customer, and that is, moving up. That's on the level of what Fortune had 2 belts, but that'll be on the level of moving up. The fact that he not going up for Rolly, even though with all the trash talk between them, I would want to see how that fight would go, because that would be interesting, because Rolly got a belt. But since Regis is number 1 up there and he has a belt, and he got knocked down and pulled himself up by his bootstraps and got back to the top of the mountaintop without really aligning himself with majors. He got with the zone, not backward, but he got with the zone. And he is a tough customer. He might have had an off night that night when we saw him. Might not have been the best performance, but that's not an easy fight for either one of them now. Like, especially not knowing if Devin gonna be even more strong and more powerful, and maybe some of that, whatever he got, at his normal, at something more closer to his natural weight. We don't know how strong he's gonna be. I wanted to see the Tank and Devin thing, but since he's still champion in recess and there's a lot of things going on, maybe you go up there and shock the world and beat Regis. Even though, I don't know how you see, your early take, just at a glance, like, could you pick anybody in that right now, or it's a coin flip?
It's a coin flip right now, due to the fact that Devin is moving up. So, and Devin never has really displayed the real punching power. So I don't know how he's gonna fare. We all know he's a good, excellent boxer. Now, he does have the skills to outpoint Regis if it goes to the scorecards. But moving up and Regis knowing that Devin is not known to be that type of puncher, he might press the action on him and force him into a firefight, which would cater to him maybe getting a chance maybe to stop Devin, but Devin's never been stopped. So it's gonna be an interesting match. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, and Devin never even been knocked down either. He been rocked. Yeah, he been rocked. So you know he held on. He might have did a little stinky leg a little bit, but he never even touched the canvas. So that's a very interesting fight. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like I'm, you know, I'll be hard on Devin. You know, I'll be hard on him, but I actually have to say, hey man, hey, you doing what you need to do. So I'm you won't hear anything about me in that situation because as much as I wanted to see him and Tank, because that's just something I want to get over with, like last year, like forever ago. But that's a good fight. That's a good fight right now. I'm gonna follow that. You know what I'm saying? Sound like you perked up a little bit about that. We might have to do some segments on that. And I just don't know what's going on with Shakur. And I don't know what's going on with Tank, even though, do you think, this the last, in closing, let me ask you this. Do you think Ice Cruz's, his performance in this last fight, did that help or hurt the rematch with Tank, if that's really a real thing? Because I don't know yet. But if that's really a real thing, did his performance help or hurt that fight? And what would you want to see from Tank right now, like with the landscape, with Devin being, locked up with Regis, with Shakur being over there on top rank, and no real push for Tank and Shakur. I don't know why not. There ain't no real push for that. I think the options are, there were some rumblings about T.O. and Tank, and we already heard Coach Calvin talk about a rematch with Ice Cruz. So how was Ice Cruz's performance in relation to this fight, and what else would you want to see from Tank with the options that we got out there? Like,
okay, with the options that's available right now, I've seen Tank and Ice Cruz. I already know it's going to be a tough fight. Both fighters going to be in there throwing punches, and whoever can enforce their will on the other will win. Now, Shakur and Tank, I think that is the fight that most boxing fans want to see, because we've never seen that. We've seen Pitbull and Tank, okay? And with Shakur moving up, Shakur wants to fight. He wants to smoke. I want to see Tank and Shakur at this particular point, being that Devin is moving up to fight Regis. I want to see Shakur and Tank fight. That's the fight I would want to see right now.
Yeah. I'm with you. I mean, it was a certain core group of the boxing community, no matter what tribe they were a part of or whatever. It was just an underlying theme amongst a lot of boxing purists that the biggest fights to be made was a combination of them three: Tank, Devin, and Shakur. And with Devin being temporarily out, getting his feet wet and taking on his biggest task in Regis, with him out of the picture, only two left is Tank and Shakur. I mean, I know the politics of it, the top rank thing and all that, but man, yeah, that's at the core. That's what hardcores want to see. I'm ready for it. They probably gonna try to say it need to be built or Shakur numbers. As a boxing purist, as far as the X's and O's, top level talent, that's the fight I would want to see.
I think that's the premier fight right there at lightweight. Being that Devin, has temporarily moved out of that category right now, I think it would be an excellent fight. And that would definitely be, I would say, a 50-50 fight.
Yeah, until that fight get made, I went through that whole drawing the line and all that. Everybody already know who I rock with over everybody. So I don't gotta answer that one yet, because if you know me, you already know the answer to that one. But what do you think as far as Cruz's stock? And we'll wrap up with that. Like, as far as Ice Cruz and what we saw, and you know, with them wanting a rematch, and you know, cause I think you were one of the ones that was saying that you pointed something out, and I'm like, I find myself pointing that out now with boxers, because when they asked Tank about the rematch, he was like, hell no, like, because they asked him right after the gloves came off, and they was like, would you want a rematch? He was like, hell no. He was like, yeah, you like, listen to it, that's not something that we would really want to hear, you know. It's like, yeah, it's not something I would really want to hear either, you know. I try not to read too much into it, but like, what do you think about that? Because I you know, I gotta, if I'm hip to what's going on in boxing.
I'm gonna give Tank a break, okay? What Tank might have been saying, okay, he may not have been actually saying that, do you ever want to fight him again? And he say no. I think he was saying that, would you like a rematch with him? No, not right now. That's what I think he was trying to say. Okay. He don't want to fight him again next. And I think we perceived it as he don't want to fight him at all. So I'm going to give Tank a break. I think Tank was saying he didn't want to fight him right away, right now.
Yeah, I didn't interpret that he would say he didn't want to, because to a certain extent, man, with them people up there and the fights they want to see and how they got everything built up, it's like their best laid plans. It's just like, it's the same way how I got that thumbnail with a picture of Loman Shakur with Devin moving up to 140. It was like, when you listen to Bob, and you listen to people who have certain agendas and where they want to go, because they actually control everything, they book the venues, it's already plans out there. It's like, it's just a little gap in between when the powers that be know what's coming down and when the fan actually knows. So you gotta stay tuned to see what's going on. I for some reason, you know, a lot of me thinks that's coming down the pike, him and Cruz. But as far as what I want to see with what's available, I would love to see Shakur right now. I would love to see him and Shakur right now. You know,
I would too. And Isaac Cruz didn't want to fight Shakur, or at least Shakur indicated that he made the offer, and the Cruz camp declined it. I think Cruz is so adamant in fighting Tank again that he don't want any obstacles to get in his way that would prevent that rematch. So that's why I think he don't want anything to do with Shakur, because Shakur could be a threat, not only to winning the fight, but he's an obstacle, and he could be a barrier between him and Tank fighting again. And I don't think he wants anything to get in the way of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, man. They was asking questions about the dude Cabrera that Isaac Cruz just fought. They was asking questions about him. I know Frank Martin's name be popping up and De Los Santos be popping up. And it's interesting because De Los Santos is the only one that's been actively calling out Shakur, like basically running behind him saying, hey, I want you. The same way Richardson Hitchens, Africa, I call him the Rain Man, the boxer. He been chasing after Devin, like he been saying, I want that smoke, I want that. And Devin done touched his toe up there. But those are like two names, Frank Martin, De Los Santos. Those are popping up, but De Los Santos want to fight Shakur too. I wouldn't mind seeing that too, because De Los Santos got a little edge, and for him to be running after Shakur like that, he is very confident, and he is a grenade now. That's a tricky one too, but that's me reaching because it's a PBC top rank and all that. But yeah, that's just, you know, some of the things I've been, you know, seeing and hearing out here in these boxing streets, and things that we can touch on and going forward. But we just gotta wait for more stuff to come out, and as always, I'll be sending you clips and you know, if you come across anything, you could be sending me some as well.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
All right, I appreciate your input, man. Keep coming in, man. That was good. Good message today. Thanks for coming with something, you know, fresh for our fans and our viewers. And I'll probably hit you up later.
Okay, sounds good. And you have a good evening.
All right, you too.
Yes, sir.
All right, peace. Well, that was my old head K. I don't know if you heard him, man, but you know, he pretty adamant about that test, man. So as an added precaution, get the test. You know, so you know, for some of your fans that have a voice and really want to know and see and want the best for you as a fighter, Big EJ. And thanks for everybody who take the time to chime in. You know, we don't do yes men over here. We welcome all feedback. We try to elevate the conversation in boxing. You know, there's a lot of low-hanging fruit. It's a lot of low vibrational energy out there. And every now and again, I might, you know, on my lonesome, I might go grab some of that. You know what I'm saying? I might go bite the apple once or twice. But for the most part, when we do these segments, we try to elevate the conversation. Silence is consent. And thanks again for everybody who like, comment, subscribe, and share the video. Thanks for tuning in here at BodyWorkBoxing, where we don't take things for face value. We do that body work.